For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Rabbi Jill Hausman, and I'd like to welcome you to the historic Actors Temple. On behalf of all of us, we are so grateful that you came to join us to support the Ukrainian people.
Thank you all for being here this evening. We may not be a big crowd, but we know what's important, and you showed up, and thank you for that. To begin our program, please welcome the choir of St. Volodymyr Cathedral, conducted by Natalia Vashenka. And also, we want to say thank you to Pastor Reverend Volodymyr Muzichka for being here and allowing us this honor. Please stand now and stay standing for the next two presentations, please. Please stand. They're going to sing the Ukrainian national anthem. Our member from the Actors Temple, and our wonderful Aaron Betterson, our assistant cantor, who will sing God Bless America. Please join in.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
And thank you all so much. It's an honor and a privilege to have you in our Actors Temple. Bless you, and may your country survive beautifully and have a home to go back to. Thank you. Yes, they want to stay. Okay. Happy to have you fill the seats. Please stay.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. As you know, I'm a producer, but a producer never works alone. It's a collaborative effort. And I have to thank just a few people tonight who have helped so much to put this show together. And Rabbi Joe Potasnik for introducing me, of course, to our keynote speaker, Jonathan Wachtel. Joe and Ellie Rosenthal for feeding me all the information they had to get people in here and the wonderful ideas that I used. Thank you, Joe, who is also on our board. And Dan Miller for his tech savvy. He couldn't be here, but he made the invitation. So talented. And our executive director, Ben Sumrall, for giving me so much time and devoting himself to the Actors Temple. And our lovely Janine Pierce-Doswell, hi up there. She's our favorite video person, and she's putting us on tape so that we can show this to the people who couldn't come this evening. And they should be sorry because it's such a beautiful evening. And Bob Greenberg, our co-president, thank you for being here. Amy Gallet also for putting us on the internet. Thank you so much. And Barbara Bova, who never says no to us. Thank you so much. And Millicent Kay and Harry, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Aaron Betterson and our wonderful Paul Slatkus, who are here and worked so hard to help me put it together. Well, you know why we're here tonight, to help in any way possible the people of Ukraine. I used to think the Israelis were the bravest people in the world, but I think the Ukrainians are a close second, don't you?
Yeah.
Fabulous, brave, and wonderful people. And so in order for us to give them some help and some solace, we've arranged this evening, and all of our proceeds will go to the UJA Crisis Ukrainian Federation. This is a cruel and senseless war, but I also want to say how sad we are for the Russian people. They didn't ask for this, and they are also suffering. Well, I'd like to introduce to you now our wonderful Jonathan Wachtel. Jonathan is the co-founder of OurCo, a next-generation mobile communications platform that unites leaders and the people they serve. As managing director of Greater Good Associates, he advises government leaders, chief officers, NGOs, the United Nations, as well as entertainment and news organizations on communications and the media. He has nearly 30 years of experience as an international and domestic journalist. He spent a decade based in London and Moscow with the ABC News and worldwide television news. Please welcome the wonderful Jonathan Wachtel.
So, first of all, I want to thank the Ukrainian choir. That was beautiful, really touching, and I hope you stay for this talk and have questions of your own, because it would be a real pleasure to engage with you, because though I spent a lot of time in Ukraine, by judging by your conversing with each other in Ukrainian as you left the stage, clearly you spent a lot more time, in fact maybe the bulk of your life. I don't know how many of you have spent time in Ukraine. Some of the congregation actually has roots in Ukraine. My mother's side, there is some connectivity to Lviv. So, you know, the Jewish-Ukrainian history goes back so far. It's so intertwined. And though right now in this congregation, there's so much solidarity with you and with your people and what's happening in your nation right now, this relationship goes back centuries. It is truly a very ancient connection that our peoples have had. And it's just beautiful to see this coming together, which if we think about our ancestors looking down on us, it's got to be a remarkable thing for them to see this happening in New York City of all places. But that is just the world we live in today. I was also thinking as you were singing up on the stage about, you know, what Ukraine has gone through historically because of leadership in Moscow. And, you know, today it's Vladimir Putin. But what you went through with Joseph Stalin and the starvation in the 30s, in which millions of Ukrainians perished. And Vladimir Putin is willing to punish the Ukrainian people and his own people, as you said so astutely, Carol. They didn't ask for this. Some, of course, did, but the majority don't want this to be happening. They're being dragged into this brutal conflict that is truly heart-wrenching, totally unnecessary. We could have easily had a negotiated way out of this. And it begs the question, how far is Putin willing to go? And what are we willing to do, all of us, to try to contain this menace that's been unleashed upon the world? This guy in the Kremlin is fixated on reconstituting the Soviet Union. And he's taken not incremental steps to do it, but serious, aggressive steps in the Republic of Georgia, in Donetsk, Crimea, what he's been doing in terms of agitation in some of the other republics, sending in Russian troops to crush dissent in Kazakhstan. Mind you, he was invited in by Tokayev, President Tokayev there. Belarusia, ensuring that a dictator there was capable of not only crushing a democratic revolution in Belarus, but ensuring that there's no way that any sort of uprising can happen again, unless Vladimir Putin's removed from power. Lukashenko holds on to power because of that. So this is all sort of the acceleration of what was already afoot. And if we all here don't take this seriously, which, you know, I'm really thrilled to see some faces in here. It was beautiful to see the performance. I'm actually very pleased you stayed behind. All of us must actually take a stand here and speak to our leaders in government, speak out to our friends, help as best we can. There are wonderful charities that will happily take funds and support to ensure that democratic principles survive this. You know, the stakes are that high, and the death toll, I'm afraid, can go much, much higher than what we've seen in Mariupol and some of the other cities that have come under the onslaught of the Russian forces. And the unfortunate thing, too, is, you know, people who come from the Soviet Union are really tough stock. Our ancestors, largely, if you're Ashkenazi, came from the Pale and went through tremendous hardship, pogroms, and managed to get out. Those who remained had to deal with the horrors of World War II, those who were able to survive. Some went off to Israel and other countries to save their skin. But so many perished. But there's a resiliency of people from that region and a level of tolerance that's kind of superhuman. And, you know, Americans tend to be pretty soft, and we don't understand what it's like to live for a month off a pickle jar, or to not have running water, what it's like. What does it feel like to not have a shower for a month? And Russia, with its blood on its hand, because of Vladimir Putin, who, again, refused to find a peaceful solution to that conflict. And he could have. And instead, he wanted to punish any sort of opportunity there would be for a democratic voice to come out of Syria. He wanted to assure that Russia had its warm water poured in Tartus in Syria at all costs. That's how this man operates. We have to fight it. And, you know, I can go on and talk some more here, but to be honest, I'd rather hear from many of you, because this is touching all of our hearts, and I want to be sure that I answer many of your questions.
We do have time now for some questions and answers if any of you have it, but I'd like to open it up with a few that was submitted to me before the evening started. And one was, Jonathan, how did we get here?
We got here in part because there's a crazy guy in the Kremlin, of course. So as we all know, as Jews and Ukrainians and Ukrainian Jews and brethren in that country, and I mentioned Stalin, that when you don't check a tyrant, that tyrant keeps going. And then we get to President Biden, and Rabbi Potasnik, I see you back there, and you and I talked about this on WABC. President Biden missed an opportunity with the German Chancellor early on, when those troops were amassing on the border, to already start with some of the punishment that Vladimir Putin had already earned, already back in 2014. It wasn't enough. He wasn't chastened. The oligarchs had not been scrutinized enough and were getting away, literally, with murder. That's how we got here. We got here because we're too lax. In terms of President Trump, I criticized President Trump just now in terms of not putting the foot down hard enough to try to contain Vladimir Putin. And I still feel that way. And I've taken some heat there because, you know, I myself, I worked at Fox News. I worked at the State Department through periods in which the Trump administration was in power. I understood the stakes. And it's easy if you're not, you know, it's easy to look back, and I took a pot shot at President Obama, I took a pot shot at Biden, I took a pot shot at Trump. If you haven't lived through that, if you haven't witnessed what it is, if you don't have awareness, as our Ukrainian friends here, understand where their ancestors starved to death because of a murderous regime in Moscow. If you don't have that appreciation, then the world kind of looks like this liberal democracy that we live in which really our biggest complaints are, oh, the traffic was terrible today, or the gas prices. We lose sight of these things. So, you know, I understand how we get into these places. We Jews, and Ukrainians, and Ukrainian Jews, have a real life experience with what and when and how, and when you really have to go at it.
Oh, she's here. Gail Brewer. Now we're wrapping it up. Do you want to say hello to Jonathan Raphael?
Good to see you. Did you have any question about Ukraine?
I can just say how much.
Please come and share the podium with us. You all know Gail. She never. Bye, Ukrainian choir. Thank you.
82nd Street.
Bye.
82nd Street and the wonderful church is fabulous. I want to say that just the other day something was very unique. PS 145 is on 105th Street, and it's a school that when I was in the city council previously, we managed to get a Russian program, dual language. And so just the other day, it was really tear-jerking. 72 families came, all Russian, but they're all, as you know, Russian and Ukrainian. In fact, they're Russian and Indian, or Ukrainian and Indian. It's a real New York community. And every child had made a beautiful sign in the flag of Ukraine. And, I don't know, 30 children, 5th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade, stood up. It was a beautiful day, one of those warm days we've had, in the playground with lots of music, and just said, I'm Ukrainian, and I'm Russian, and I love Ukraine. And it came child after child after child. Love the church on 82nd Street, and we love there's a center also a little bit further north, Ukrainian, and we're all with you. Thank you very much.